All right, here we go. Okay, welcome to the Shop Class Podcast. We got a good one tonight. All right, people are excited. So our guest tonight is Joanne Mitchell. She's been in manufacturing for 20 or 30, 29 or 30 years. She's now, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. Now in retirement, she's trying to give back, and she's got all these stories about how to help people, transition into manufacturing. Thanks for joining.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, and then we got Matt Bloomquist. He's a regular, but he's super excited because he's driving back from a conference. What kind of conference is it, Matt?
It was the Midwest Building Science Symposium.
Okay, building science. This is like, it sounds funny when you say building science, like what's that? But actually what people do is they really look at the techniques, the modern techniques versus the older techniques, and they try and figure out what actually is better to build a house. You're talking even from the energy level, but also from the install level. So he knows more about it. So we're going to get excited and talk about that. Matt, before we get to you, hold on a second. We got to ask Joanne the ultimate question that I ask every person that gets on the Shop Class podcast is, did you have shop class growing up?
When I grew up, shop class was generally not for my gender. But I will say I was born and raised in manufacturing. My parents, both of them, were in manufacturing. My mom worked for another great Swedish company, Electrolux. My dad was with Burlington Industries. So from a very early age, everything I knew was manufacturing. My father-in-law was a renowned shop teacher here in the northern New Jersey area for over 30 years. The famous Mr. Mitch, who taught in a variety of our local school systems for over 3 decades.
No kidding. This is such a gem.
And in fact, in my local high school, the teacher who replaced my father-in-law when my father-in-law retired was one of his former students who I had the pleasure of working with while I was an active co-worker at Sandvik.
Wow, no kidding.
So my connections in manufacturing go way, way back and way, way deep.
That's amazing. And so I understand what you're saying about how, back then it's even when when I was in high school, they were starting to take the shop classes out. I didn't have shop class growing up. Luckily there was a junkyard close to my house, and I would just go visit the junkyard, and the guy thought I was stealing stuff, but I was actually just looking. I just wanted to see.
Interesting.
It was actually material science. I was looking at which plastics would do well in the sun versus the other ones, because I noticed the dashboards would crack and some wouldn't. So I was like, why is that? So these are the beginning for me. But a lot of people either were denied shop class by cultural things or it wasn't available. And so I totally get that. And luckily the pendulum has swung, because as a shop teacher, I think I have 50% girls this year for the first time ever. And that's because of STEM. Mm-hmm. Now, because they married the idea of college with hands-on, but the STEM alone is not enough. You need, I think, what the old industrial arts where you actually made stuff,
I would agree, because although shop was not really a viable possibility for me coming through high school back in the 70s, I do have a Bachelor of Science degree, because most of my undergraduate career was spent in a chem lab.
Okay, interesting.
So I did not necessarily machine things. I did occasionally dissolve them and less frequently blew them up. So yes, I was always in the practical applied side of that theoretical knowledge that all of my educator partners see their AP students disappearing into. All of us on this call know that students who get to apply the theory and see it and touch it in their hands understand it much more efficiently and are able to apply it and extrapolate from what you have taught them in the classroom, because now they can touch it and they can feel it, and they now have a reason to understand why that theoretical piece is so important.
Yep.
It's like all of us who taught geometry. So, well, what do I need to know all this X, Y stuff for? Well, if you want to build an airplane, that's the language the machine tool speaks. And that's why it's important. So, and I don't have to tell. It's absolutely.
Geometry is what I like what you said. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Geometry is what the machine toolist speaks. That's their language.
Absolutely. Because
very interesting.
You all know we not only deal in X and Y, we deal in B. We also deal in, especially if you're programming multi-axis, you are dealing in as many as 10 different axes. And that is all in the machine's brain as a geometric grid with point-to-point coordinates.
Wow.
That's the language the machine tool speaks.
Very interesting.
So,
yeah.
If you have a student who is challenged with the question that all of us asked in junior geometry, why do I need to know this stuff? Well, the reason you need to know this stuff is so that you can build that airplane, that motorcycle, that ventilator, whatever piece of sophisticated equipment you need to have to solve a problem. The geometry is what the machine tool understands, and that's how we speak to it. And the machine tool does not care if you are male or female, or how long your hair is, as long as it's tied back, or what you look like, as long as you can make it do what it needs to do.
Right. 100%. Well said. This is awesome. I am definitely going to play this for my supervisor and for everybody I work with. This is amazing. You're actually really good at this.
Oh, thank you. Well, I've been doing it for a very long time. I have 16 years teaching experience personally. I'm married to a high school master history teacher. My father-in-law was a shop teacher. So I'm fully acculturated, believe me.
Wow. Let me introduce you two other people that jumped in, or actually three now. This is Duke. He teaches in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. And we got the tech fireman is Nick, and he teaches in upstate New York. I forget the town. I'm so sorry. Where do you teach, Nick? Okay, hold on. He's unmuting.
Accord up near Kingston.
Kingston. Okay.
Kingston, I know it well. I was up there not too long ago. I was up at the Emerson, and I have cousins in Margaretville. So I'm familiar with the area. Nice to see you.
Emerson's the town near the town that I live in. So
got it. All right. And then we got Tim Zavecki. He's in what part of New Jersey do you teach in? Hold on. He's working on his mic.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get situated. I didn't expect you to come to me so quick.
Okay. No problem. I always forget the town. I know it's west of here.
Well, yeah, it's west of there, but it's also in Warren County, New Jersey. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. And so Tim's doing middle school. Duke is doing middle school. Tim's doing woodworking. He does like really nice turning. So it's like these beautiful bowls and mixed pieces of wood. It's amazing. Nick does a lot of mixture of technology and 3D printing and whatnot. And you know that Matt is doing houses and whatnot. So guys who just got in now, just so you know, Joanne, she's been in manufacturing for 30 years, and now she also is trying to help people transition into manufacturing. She's an advocate for shop classes in general. I asked her the most important question, which was did you have shop class growing up? And she didn't, because at the time they weren't really encouraging girls to do that, but she has a background because of her family and because of also her her pathway into manufacturing. And then we're going to get to Matt, who just came from a conference, the Build Science Conference. So it's a hot show, So my second question to Joanne is, how did you get into manufacturing?
I was kind of born into it, but the real reason I started at Sandvik is because I was sitting in my very high technology chemistry lab in college, looking, praying that I could find a job. And I'm leaning back against my stainless steel lab bench, just like this. And I look up, and above my head is a seamless stainless steel tube with our famous logo on it. And I'm looking and I'm reading Sandvik. Oh, they're not far from here. I wonder if they need anybody. Well, they did. And I actually started out in the finance group at Sandvik because I walked in and they interviewed me and they said, chemist, can you add, subtract, multiply, and divide? I said, oh, yes, most definitely I can. And because I had a technical background, I was doubly attractive, because if you said to me, that's got burrs on it, I can look and say, you're not cutting fast enough. You're moving a little slow on the machine with that. So I was a very desirable candidate, and the rest is history. And actually, I'm sorry, Ron, I've been 40 years with Sandvik as of this year.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
Yes, I remember tools when they were brazed. And
really?
I brazed a few too. Not
so
well, though.
So the edges, right? The cutting tool. So I'm still learning about manufacturing. So two things you said that are kind of interesting. You could note when the cuts weren't fast enough, and I think faster means less cost, right? For the time.
Yes, faster usually always means less cost. And that may be a separate conversation, because I could spend a couple of hours just on that, and I don't even have overheads. But yes, understanding the function of the tools, and if there are some questions that anybody has on cutting tools, I can probably handle them. I only retired a few months ago. I still remember most of it.
Making chips. This is what's funny? This is a hotter topic than ever before. Is automated chip making machines that cut. And just so in case there's an audience member that doesn't understand the importance of this, everybody knows about the 3D printer. But what I say is, hey, what about the 3D cutter? And that is your CNC machine, the ability to cut in 3 dimensions, and you can make almost any shape out of it. But you could also do lights out engineering. You could run around the clock. I'm just showing the website just to give an overview here.
For my educator partners on here, there is a large reservoir of complementary technical material that Sandvik Coromant has, including our metal cutting e-learning, which is 75 chapters of theoretical metal cutting. It is carbide cutting tools, so it is not high-speed steel. It is theory and it's practice. It comes with a competence test. The students can take it at the end. You can take it at the end. It's modular, it's badged, it's dual dimensioned, and it's in 8 languages.
Wow.
So if anybody is dealing with English language learners, ELLs, or as we used to call them, ESLs, but if you're dealing with English language learners, and they speak Spanish or French or Chinese or Japanese, Swedish, Polish, those languages are in the metal cutting technology. Yes, sir.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
A lot of my educator partners, especially at the college level, will use that as a prereq. At the high school level, a lot of them use it as a homework or as an adjunct to a lecture, because the student can do it on student time and you don't have to take class time.
Wow. So I think this is a fantastic thing. I really even like these graphics showing, so you have turning, facing, and boring all in one picture, which is fantastic. And what's amazing is that, so Tim does a lot of turning, and I'm sure he does facing and boring as well, but they do it with wood it wouldn't be that much of a transition to go into metal.
It would not. The speeds and feeds for metal are much faster than woods. And anything that we would run in metal would probably set the wood on fire. Having said that, Baco Saws and Tools is the proud owner of my old Sandvik saws and tools. So, Tim, if anybody needs wood turning information, please feel free to reach out to me because I can connect you with somebody who can help you with that. I don't do wood turning except to admire it because I have some of it here. But yes, we have tools for people to help people learn better skills in doing that.
That's cool.
And if anybody has any questions about the Sandvik Cormont website, I am on LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out to me. I am happy to help with that. I am retired, but I am still a member of the team.
Yeah. So where would I go to look at some of those e-learning situations? Is that on the website?
If you go to the search bar,
Okay.
Mr. G, on the top of that web page, if you just put in e-learning, it should pop up.
Okay. Let's see. E-learning probably has 2 words, maybe. Or metal cutting e-learning right here.
There we go.
All right. Sharing knowledge through online training. You log in or register. You can start.
Registration is with the compliments of Sandvik Cormont. And there is no seat limit on this. So it doesn't matter how many students you have. At the moment, there's about 12,000 active students.
Wow. That's a lot.
Well, Sandvik Cormont is a global company, so they're every place.
No kidding. And it's wild because it's right here in Fairlawn is one of the locations, right?
Correct. And we have moved our headquarters to one of our production facilities in our Mebane, North Carolina location. We've been a manufacturer in the United States since about 1929. Not with carbide. Carbide wasn't invented till the 40s, but in 1929 we were bandsaws and saw blades and steel. 1929 is a heck of a year to start a new company. But we made it work.
That's amazing.
We made it work, and we've been a manufacturer here in the U.S. since then. Sandvik in the U.S. has 4 manufacturing facilities. Mebane, North Carolina, Westminster, South Carolina, Greer, South Carolina, and another manufacturing facility out in Utah. That's just the Cormont division. We also have the steel division in Scranton, not too far from East Stroudsburg.
Okay. So I see you basically have, once you register, you can click on these modules.
Correct.
And they got machinability, turning, parting, grooving, threading, milling, drilling, boring, tool holding, other information. Wild.
And it's all there. You can take it any way you want, in any order you want.
Yeah, I just have to register. I'll do it later.
You do have to, that's why you're coming up with page not found, because
that's okay. It takes you to this.
We do know who's on the system.
Right.
And if an educator needs to put a whole class on the system, there is a process for that so that you can see your students' progress. If anybody has questions about that, please feel free to ask me or ask Sandvik Cormont directly. And my old team will probably ask me.
Gotcha. So just an overview on Sandvik. So basically, they supply the cutting tool. Is that right?
Sandvik as a group is a company in 3 areas, actually. In materials, out in Pennsylvania, a lot of people still know us as Sandvik Steel. We're actually more than steel. So we are in metals. We are in mining and construction, which is, of course, my mining group. And our cutting tool, our machining solutions group. which is Sandvik Cormont, plus several other companies that I know you all have heard of. So we have a variety of brands in the group and a variety of disciplines. We are a global engineering company. We make all the stuff that makes everything else, basically.
Wow.
So you're right, Ron. Well, think about it. Cutting tools cut everything. And
Yep.
we also have a 3D printing division.
You guys have a museum.
We do. We're Sandvik as a group started in 1862, and we've been going great guns ever since.
Wow.
Which is why when things happen, in 170 some odd years, we've had a lot of things happen. We have a lot of directions. We have a lot of journals and things that people actually kept notes about when World War II happened, when World War I happened, when the Depression happened.
Interesting.
And we go back and say, well, what did we do last time? Oh, yeah, that looks good. Let's try it again.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, you guys have a collective knowledge.
We do. You talked to us about pandemic. We actually have records from 1918. So,
Wow.
so yeah, we are a big old company.
Seems like the way to handle a pandemic is put the pedal to the metal. Just go faster because people are going to need stuff.
Though Sandvik did not stop. We couldn't, because everybody making masks, which are stamped with a solid carbide die or a solid carbide knife, everybody who needed something to solve the problem needed to cut it or shape it. And we, Sandvik Cormont, we're set up for all kinds of emergency protocols.
Wow.
Well, think about it. You're in New Jersey like me, or my other New Jersey colleague. We've had Hurricane Irene. We've had Hurricane Ida. We had the October snowstorm. We've had all kinds of stuff where we were blacked out for 10 days.
Yeah.
So you have to figure that if it's happened once, it'll happen twice. And we were set up as a company for that kind of emergency protocol throughout the company. So our production units all talk to one another if one went offline. And to be very honest, our production unit in Rovereto, Italy, and our production units in Langfang, China, both had to go offline for some part of the year. And our Mebane and Westminster units here in the US picked up for them.
Wow. No
so
kidding.
that everybody got what the people who needed things to save lives, they always got what they needed.
Interesting.
I won't say we did not prioritize our requests, because we did, but the people who needed things to save lives, we always made sure they had what they needed.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. And, it's funny because, I grew up in Bergen County, and just the general idea, Bergen County, like northeastern New Jersey, just in case someone, it, but the general idea is that they say is manufacturing's dead in the US. And I'm like, no, it's not. In fact, right there in Farallon, they make like vital life-saving cutting tools. So I'm not sure what happened. I wonder, you might actually be a good person to ask. What do you think happened as far as the sentiment? Why is it that the shop classes got thinned out, and the idea, it's not true, but the idea is that America doesn't manufacture anything. But that's not true. We make space vehicles, we make cutting tools, we save lives all the time. So why is that an idea? Do you think you have any insight on that?
I have some suspicions. Other people may have different thoughts about it, but as an observer, and having gone through personally in my family how textiles emigrated to less expensive production facilities, I would say manufacturing, especially our kind of manufacturing, is an invisible process. If you ask your students, your entry-level students, not your advanced level students, where did this come from?
Yeah,
They'll go,
Right.
No clue. Where did the water bottle come from? No idea. No, they just magically appear on the shelves as if they just came in on a wing and a prayer. Nobody goes back to say, how do I make this? Because we don't personally experience that kind of requirement in most of our lives. If plumbing breaks, you mostly do not fix it yourself. I don't touch plumbing except a washer or something. You call somebody who has the magic knowledge that makes it work. Most people don't think about it. We all take a lot for granted. That will always go. And manufacturing in the US, we're great at making stuff, bad at telling people how wonderful we are, and that everything you touch was touched by a machine tool first.
Right. Wow.
And the skill set you need to make that machine tool do your bidding is a very advanced skill set.
Yeah, it's not a common thing.
It should be more common than it is because all of you sit in institutions that teach algebra and geometry. That's exactly what a machine tool needs. And for people who are wondering, well, I learned all this stuff in school, what do I do with it? Come by us, make an airplane, make heart parts, make elbows for people. I mean, the tools that Sandvik Cormont makes make back parts, elbow parts. In fact, Ron, right up the road from where I live, I have two very, very fine partners who make medical parts, Triangle and Stryker.
Right.
And they are filled with machine tools that make high value, very precise, very clean parts to put inside your own body.
Yeah.
Somebody else will put them in for you. Don't try this at home.
Yeah. Yeah, I always say it's funny, because sometimes I'll get kids who they say, oh, I can't take your class because I have to do the AP bio or AP this or AP that. And I say, okay, that's great. That's great. But you should make time for at least some sort of shop class because here's the analogy I give. And everybody's heard this who's on the show, before. But you can't read how to ride a bicycle. You have to ride the bicycle, So you could read all the books you want, but you're never going to understand how to ride the bicycle until you actually ride it. So same thing goes for manufacturing. Until you apply what you learned, you haven't done anything. You just memorized a bunch of stuff in a book. So I would say to any student, especially the pre-med students, I had a kid come to me and say, I'm sorry, Mr. G, I can't take your class because I have to take, I want to be a medical doctor. And I said, okay, when was the last time you saw a doctor operate in like a barn? Like the building itself is a machine. When you walk in the doors go shh. Like everything about that hospital, they got oxygen piped in, they got all kinds of buzzing bells and whistles. There's machines and wires hooked up to every room. Every room is kind of like a machine in a way. Everything in there, like especially even surgery, is going to be, you're half robot, half doctor. So I said, you probably should learn a little bit about engineering or at least the application of electronics, mechanics, so you understand how things are made, so you can make the right choices with the machines you use in the hospital.
Absolutely. And I'd even go further, but learning applied manufacturing skills, which is what we're talking about, also gives you an understanding of a process. And understanding a process in medicine or in engineering and understanding what components make up that process is extremely important. And Mr. G, you're absolutely right when you say a hospital is like a machine, because that is a total machined system. Every piece has to correspond and talk to every other piece through whatever language those machines are using.
Yeah.
Robotic surgery, of course, but who makes the robots? We make the tools that make the robots possible. And all of us, with machine tools, those are robots. Mine come usually in a white box, maybe an orange box or a gray box, and are very well behaved. But they work. People think. And in order to program, in order to inform the machine tool and make what you need to solve a problem, because that's my definition of manufacturing. Manufacturing is the practical expression of how you solve a problem.
Nice. I want to echo your, what you're saying about how the machines work and the people think. So what I warn my classes about is that, repetitive tasks will always be, replaced. So like the ATM machine, even when I was a kid, we had ATM machines, and talking to a bank teller is less and less.
Yes.
Although I do like talking to a bank teller, but not for daily transactions. And then also self-driving cars is coming, and some people think, nah, there's no way. But I say, okay, I'll prove it to you. Think about the automatic transmission. The automatic transmission took away the whole idea of shifting. So that's gone. And then steering will be gone next. So what I say to them is, if a repetitive task is gone, what do you have left? Like, what are you going to, what's your value for the world? And the only thing I can think of is your ability to create a new solution. The computer is just going to follow a task, but you're going to come up with a new idea. The computer, you can even solve chess games, but that's not a new idea. That's just solving an existing problem. So I say, you got to think out of the box, and whatever you memorize today, that might not help you. What you really need is to apply your ideas in actual, either solve a problem or come up with a three-dimensional problem and do it, So like even the math classes, they should be thinking about, looking at statistics and making your town traffic pattern or walkability pattern better through solving problems with math, but not just learning the math, because the computer can do the math. That's not the problem anymore. The problem is creativity. That's my opinion of it,
And I would absolutely support that, because the more you apply it, the better you understand it. It's going back to the medical example, see one, do one, teach one. But I've talked enough. I do have a question for everybody on the call. One of the things I like to ask my education partners is, do you have an advisory board for your program? You don't have to answer that.
I don't, but I've always thought it would be a good idea, because I didn't like, if I wanted to change the program or add a tool and the tool was expensive, but we could afford it if we focused. I didn't want to like give my opinion and then just think that, Ronnie wants a new tool. It's not just me. It's this committee that advised on this tool. See, like, I think we need a full-size mill and a full-size CNC machine, but we don't have that. We just have like a lathe that's left over from the 40s, and which is good, and we have a miniature mill and a miniature lathe, but we don't have CNC and we don't have a full-size mill. And so they think it's just me because I personally want it, but I'm trying to explain, like, this is the machine that makes the machines. Like the lathe and the mill are the mother and father of all the other machines. And so I explain this but it just looks like it's my opinion. So I think the advisory committee would be good.
I would encourage you, Ron, to set up an advisory committee of the manufacturers that are in your district, because 5 will get me 10 that they don't know about your program. And because you don't usually live in your district, you may not know about the manufacturers who pay taxes to support your school. If you get them on your side, then you have a neutral third party who is a taxpayer, who is invested in the community, who understands what you are doing and needs the output from your program to speak on your behalf to your administration. I would encourage everybody to look for the people in your community who have an investment in your program. Not investment. They do have a financial one because if they're in town and you're in the United States, they're getting paid. Their taxes are going to support the building. But
Yep.
they also have an investment in the students who are coming out of your program. And they will be able to speak for you on your behalf to your administration. If you were looking at me and thinking that this woman is crazy, I don't have enough time even to eat my lunch. And I know a lot of you do not eat lunch on a regular basis because you're using that time to do other stuff. Your Chamber of Commerce in your district or in your town probably has all the manufacturing members that you need. And if you need help finding your Chamber of Commerce, please reach out to me. It's for me, it's like a 3-minute discussion. What town are you in? What town are you in? Okay, give me 2 minutes here. Boop, 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 because they're all online. The internet can be a wonderful thing. But an advisory board will be a great benefit to you and to your program if you don't already have one.
I like it. I think
If
it's a
you
great
do have-
idea.
I will
Okay,
tell
I have
you-
a naive
Yes, sir.
question.
There are no naive questions.
Okay.
Only good questions. Go
So
for it.
how does the advisory committee generally work? Is it like a once a month meeting? Is it like just an email situation? What do people tend to do?
It depends. And I sit at the moment on 4 boards, 2 of them public, 2 of them private. And I have sat on many advisory committees. So it depends on the need. For example, the County College of Morris here in New Jersey has just opened a magnificent new facility. And I sat in on several meetings. I am on their advisory board just to help them say, what does manufacturing need? What kind of technology are you looking for? So that they knew where to place their investment. And when they went to justify what they needed, they could reflect back on the testimony from the manufacturers in the area who not only support the institution with tax payments, but hire the output from the institution. So it was firsthand testimony. And when in doubt, sometimes we would take people into our own facilities and say, see this? This is a machine tool. This is what we use. And sometimes, for me especially, where my production units are not always in New Jersey, we just showed people video, home movies of our facilities. This is what we do. And this is why your students need to understand this kind of geometry, this kind of algebra, and this is the kind of processing we do.
Interesting.
So does anybody on the call have an advisory board?
What do you think, Duke? You got one?
This is it. We meet once a week.
I would, especially with middle school.
This is the advisory board. You're
Well,
looking at it.
go to your local environment. Get the people who pay money to build your school, who foot the bill for taxes, whose children are going to have to go find their way in the world. Because one of the ways I start out my discussion with parents is, how many of you in this room who have more than one child are wondering how to afford a $100,000 liberal arts education for each of your children? And you can just see eyes looking at you with the same look I had in mine when my kids had to go to school. And it's, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I said, okay, what do people pay you for? They pay you for what they can do. You can do for them. If your students, if your children find their way with good skills to a good company, in manufacturing, we will likely pay for some of that education, if not all of it. Full disclosure, I have not 1, but 2 degrees paid for in full or in part by Sandvik. Why? Because it was needed in my job description, and it was needed to advance the needs of the whole team. And I said, if you're going to college, you have to get good grades. Does that sound like the parent company? You have to get good grades, and we will pay for it.
Yeah.
So in manufacturing, you can have great skills. You can find people to pay for your further education. You have a career path, and you have a life.
I just went and looked up just to see, kind of like what manufacturers I have in West New York. That's the town where I work.
You
And
have
so
a lot.
I just typed in, there's a whole bunch of them. So here they are. And it's under manufacturing. So I wonder if that's really what they do or that's just importing. We'll see.
No, you have quite a few here. The shoe warehouse is probably not manufacturing.
Right.
But you have
Paper.
Yep. But paper is maybe import. I'm looking to see. Yep, jewelry is probably doing some manufacturer. And in fact, I have a teacher colleague in Montana. That's how he funds his program. He uses his machine tools to make the class rings.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Right.
And they do a fabulous job. And his labor force is his senior class. So they get a special benefit. They can design their own class rings. Everybody else gets the standard version.
Yeah.
So you see a bunch of people who probably have an interest in your program.
Yeah.
And gentlemen, if there is a manufacturer in your area that is of interest to you, reach out to them, even if they're not in your district.
Yeah. Sounds good. Nick, do you do anything with an advisory board? No. How come?
Me, myself, and I. Me, myself, and I. I'm the only one.
Yeah, that's also part of, admittedly, that is a shop teacher problem. We work a little bit in a vacuum. It's not entirely by choice. It just sort of works out that way. That was part of the reason we came up with the Shop Class podcast, was to have these meetings so we could talk with experts. That's the whole reason you're here. We want to know what the experts think, and we either learn a skill or we get advice from experts about how to make our programs better. This is like, you want a shop teacher moment? This is it. Advisory board, guys. We got to have one.
It's a beautiful thing.
Local advisory.
Nobody, forgive me for saying this, gentlemen, but nobody in your building really understands what you do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's true.
Well, it's a shame because they don't. And I've sat in rooms with other of our colleagues who have looked at me and said, I don't understand it. I have better credentials than the English teacher. I have the same credentials as the math teacher. Why do they get more respect than I do? And it's because the administration understands what a math teacher does. They understand what a language arts teacher does. They do not understand what a technology teacher does. They don't understand that the fact what you are teaching people is applied engineering. You are teaching them problem-solving skills that have a practical application for which they can get paid, and paid well, I might add. That if you carry those skills down the road, especially with CNC machining, your student can be their own boss and run their own machine, as Ron referenced, lights out. And I have actually quite a few teacher colleagues who do run their own shops, lights out, and teach during the daytime and come home to a large bin of parts that they're...
Wow, that's so cool.
Well, because that's lights out.
Imagine it's not lights out, it's I don't know, you keep your day job and then your machine keeps running all day.
Yes, it does, and all night.
That is quite interesting.
That's what a machine tool does. It does the same programmed operations all the time to the exact same standards. And that's cool. A whole separate discussion. but the value of what you teach is not always recognized in a general high school by your administration.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've done the best I could to highlight it. And, you know, like everybody knows this story, but I'll just explain it in case someone's new in the audience, is that, you know, when I got there, they were just changing brake pads, or they had a 69 Mustang that was chopped in half that Ford donated. I think 67, like literally a 67 Mustang cut in half. That was donated by Ford in 67. That was the last time they updated the shop. And I mean, although that antique was beautiful, you could only get 1 or 2 kids to sit around it and we could work on it. But, you know, you needed an update. And also I saw that the industry was changing to electric. So we built an electric car. Well, that was half for the kids, but half for the adults. And the adult part was to shine a light, a spotlight, and track them like a magnet of the idea that shop class is not just changing brake pads. It's coming up with new solutions, new ideas, new manufacturing, and it's relevant even though the tools look the same. Like the floor looks like an old crusty concrete floor. You know, no big deal. You know, this is, yeah, it's not, you know, nothing, the tools haven't changed, but the projects really have changed a lot. And then that shined a light, right? But had I not done that, I'm not sure that program would have survived. So I've had a lot of support, so I'm really thankful about my district. But at the same time, we haven't gone into manufacturing. We've gone into application and making stuff, but I think we need automated machines. We got to learn about robots. We got to learn about CNC cutters. This is massive. You know, yeah, go ahead.
That's why you need an advisory board, because your industrial manufacturers will say that 1940s lathe is a lovely thing. And you're going to tell me it's a 1942 Carnegie Tracker?
That's funny. No, it's a let me think. I forget now. It's a Sheldon. It's a Sheldon.
A venerable piece of equipment who first saw the light of day probably around 1940, just as we were getting into World War II. It still works.
Totally.
And
It's actually, it came from a grant to train people on machine tools at night at the school during World War II. It's left over from a World War II grant.
It still works.
Yes, it still works.
It does. Yes, and it does. If those of us who are in New Jersey, if you all get a chance to amble down to County College of Morris or NJIT, you will see what modern manufacturing looks like.
Aha.
So, and if anybody needs an introduction, please let me know. I still know all of everybody. Because I'm also on the Workforce Development Board for Bergen County. So this topic and having you all here is a discussion near and dear to my heart. For my Illinois teams, we have a Sandvik Cormon Center in Schaumburg, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. If you ever want a field trip, please let me know. I will put you in touch with people who can set that up. Middle school,
how far is that for you?
That's about 3.5 hours, I think, give or take.
Okay. Nice.
So if you need to bring your students someplace, there are tons of some places. Anybody here who here is familiar with Manufacturing Day?
Oh, so I've heard about that. Yeah. Is it coming up?
It is. It's the first Friday in October. I think we missed it this year, but
Yeah.
all is not lost because it's still online, because it was virtual. If you go to the National Association of Manufacturers, it should be on their website. It is actually part of what they do with my good friends at the Manufacturing Institute as part of our education outreach for manufacturing. Ron, if you need a link or you can't find it, let me know. I will send you a link for it.
Got it. I think I got it.
Good-o.
Yeah. So this is cool. Oh, they got a get involved button.
Well, that may be dues.
Okay.
But if we go here, if you go to that site, just search on Manufacturing Day.
Okay. Oops. Oh, here we go. Manufacturing Day. Oops.
It's close enough. It'll find it.
No.
It's maybe not.
Hold on a second. Let's do this. Hard to spell and do this at the same time. Here we go.
There you are.
Manufacturing Institute. There we go. This is it.
And there it is.
Manufacturing Day. All right.
There should be some online material here that is fully complimentary. It's people going into other people's shops and facilities. This is real world manufacturing.
Go to the site. Here we go. We're going there. Creators wanted. Manufacturing Day. Creators wanted in modern manufacturing. Okay. So we didn't miss this yet, right? It's
Yeah,
coming
it's
up.
Well, it was
spread it.
October 1st. It's October 1st.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So, okay.
But you can still sign in and you can still attend the programs. And I know October 1st is usually, October is a terrible time for educators.
That's
I am,
right.
yeah, that's like PSAT week in most places.
So how do I join? If I want to, I could do a virtual field trip. Maybe I could show this to the kids on Friday.
I see if you click on events on that little toolbar there,
Yeah.
and it should say find a Manufacturing Day event.
Oh yeah. There we go.
And it should bring up a nice list.
Oh, I'm clicking. Didn't work.
Ah, well,
Okay.
that's not good.
It's all right. Let's see. Okay, it goes there.
All right. Well, that's okay. So they
Oh,
have a
search
dead
the
link.
map. Oh, here we go. I like maps.
So you see, there's one or two people who will be doing events for Manufacturing Day.
All right, let's see. Let's get up to here in New Jersey. Oh yeah, we got stuff. Okay, we're getting in there. Okay, they got something going on in. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah, in Manhattan.
Well, even if you can't go physical,
Yeah.
and because we are still in pandemic mode in a lot of places, we are not allowing
Adafruit.
visitors into the building.
Oh, we got to go to. During a virtual tour of Adafruit. Are you kidding me? I'm totally doing this.
There you
I
go.
love Adafruit.
A lot of us have virtual tours online, so that
Oh,
even
this
if you
is
can't
awesome.
come and visit us, we can come and visit you.
See, Adafruit's so cool because basically it's a woman-owned business, and she's the only not a chip manufacturer. She's I would say a electronics assembler. I don't know if they create the silicon chips there, but they do make parts, tech parts. They have a pick and place machine, and they're very cool. And they make all kinds of Arduino components, and they're right there in New York City.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff in New York City. You'd be
Yeah.
surprised how big a machine tool you can get up a freight elevator, one piece at a time.
So this is Adafruit, and they have the coolest stuff.
Okay. There
yeah.
are virtual events all over the United States, and
Yeah.
you can sign up and go and visit any one of them. Most of them are on demand. And I know there's a lot of on demand on the site. So because all of you have filed your lesson plans already, probably. Yeah, because we're a week out, 2 weeks, depends, 2 weeks ahead, 1 week
Sure.
ahead. You can go take a look, and you can probably fit this in later in October.
Yeah.
Manufacturing Institute is the education arm of the National Association of Manufacturers. They have several programs that may be of interest depending on where you are program-wise. There is a program for women, Steps Ahead for Women. I have the honor to be one of the class of 2016 honorees with the Institute there, which is where the Manufacturing Institute honors about 100 women every year for their work and contributions to manufacturing in various disciplines.
Okay.
So if you need to engage with more female students, I am also on the board for Women in Manufacturing, the Education Foundation. And we do have a student chapter. If you need more information about that or have an interest, please
Where
feel
do
free
I
to
go
contact
for
me.
where do I go for that? Did you say Women in Manufacturing?
Women in
Is that it?
Manufacturing.
I have it.
There you go.
All right.
And
This is
because it's a nonprofit, the donate now comes up first.
right. This is important. It's taken years, but we finally have a lot of girls in the shop classes. And, that took years because the irony is that they used to tell the girls to take, what was it, sewing class or something, but or cooking, right? Cooking. But the irony is that all the chefs are guys. When you go to the restaurant, the chefs are guys, but when you look at NASA's roster of people, it's women. So it's the guys are chefs and the women are doing engineering. So it's like reality versus the high school,
It's different now. When I was in high school, the women were the chefs, but I will admit it's hard. Those 50 quart stock pots are hard to move. Let me tell you.
So funny.
But this exists here, Women in Manufacturing. If anybody local to me needs a speaker or a presentation, I am happy to do that. I am on the board.
Okay. So is there one in New Jersey or
we're working on it? We're
Okay.
working on it. Ron, honestly, now that I've retired, I actually have more time to devote to starting a chapter.
Got it.
When I was not retired, I had a few other things to do.
Understandable. Okay. I think this is super important. Now what can I do have a lot of girls in the classes this year. How do I get them involved? What would be the first thing I should do?
First, you should let them know that there are many successful people in manufacturing who are women at all levels, from the C-suite all through the company. And what people don't realize, even if your student is not intending to go directly into production, in manufacturing, we need all the jobs that any other business needs. What does that mean? I need finance people. I need accounting people. I need payroll people. I need human resource people. I need all of them. Not only do I need the jobs people recognize, I have a whole bunch of jobs that people never heard of. Digital integration technician.
Yeah.
Digital solutions manager, who is responsible for linking systems of machine tools and posting programs into a seamless whole so that at the end of this production point, you get your elbow parts. We have all kinds of wonderful, crazy jobs, some of which have only been invented in the last 5 years.
Wow. So
this is not our grandfather's manufacturing. My grandfather would have been thrilled.
You know what's I always find funny is the limited scope that the kids in high school are exposed to. And this is the example I would give is all the sports kids, they all want to be athletes, right? So I always ask them, so you want to be a paid athlete on the field, like literally your feet are moving on the field and that's why you're being paid. And I said, okay, but really, if you really like sports, like if you really, 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 really like sports, you're going to think, what about the person? What about the coach? What about the marketing for getting the fans to be there? What about the coordination of the team? What about the flights to the different cities? What about a strategy of how to market your team versus a more expensive team? Like, can you imagine trying to fight the Yankees? Like, it must be almost impossible, So what I do is I help them think about the sport or their industry is wider than just the paid athlete on the field. So I guess when manufacturing comes up, not everybody has to be there typing in the program or turning the thing or turning the wrenches on the machine. Not everybody has to do that. It could be supply chain distribution, which is massive. I mean, think about how many they're trying to move all this supply chain. They're trying to move all these materials. The chip shortage is a major thing. Some companies did not prepare well. Other companies prepared really well and pivoted. What about the pivot? So it's pretty wide, but I'm not sure why. I feel like that's not addressed. Once you pick an industry, they feel like they have to be on the floor doing the work. Like they're either the paid athlete or the mechanic in the field. Not necessarily.
No, because people think of manufacturing as they think of it in black and white. Tell me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, because I know you all deal with this every day. They think of us as troglodytes living under a rock someplace. We speak in one-syllable words unless we're grunting. And we are where the problem children go.
Well, that is Tim. So,
My father-in-law, God rest his soul, used to look at me and say, explain to me, please, why the problem children come to me when I have equipment that will kill them if they don't pay attention. And I took a deep breath and I said, Dad, because when you get them, you engage them in the process and you make them responsible. And now they're invested and it's theirs. And they produce something that they can hold in their hands and show that they contributed to, which is something that is of great value. And I will tell you what one of my college partners does every time he gets a new president in his very fine liberal arts college. He goes to his machine tool and he produces a workpiece for the desk of the president. It's always gorgeous. In fact, I have one here that was produced for an association meeting. This may be a little bit more than you have machinery to work with, but let me get my little thing. May I excuse myself for a half second?
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
No, that's great. I actually think that's a good idea.
So the funny thing, Ron, was this week we had the state testing. Did you have state testing this week?
It's so weird. I don't know what. I heard that it's happening, but maybe I'm in the basement. I don't know what's going on.
All right, so we had state testing. We had state testing the end of last week. So it was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday last week, right?
Yeah.
So I got lucky enough to have the floater duty.
This
is
a lighthouse.
Joanne, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I put my headset on, and because I think you all just wait until I get back.
We were just making fun of each other that, I am in the basement. I didn't even know about the state testing this week. And we were talking about that. Go ahead, Joanne. Let me see this thing.
And then I'll finish my story.
Yeah.
This is my light up lighthouse business card and pen stand. This was
awesome.
made. It is awesome. It comes from the beautiful Central Community College of Maine. And it was a gift to all the meeting attendees. You may not have the equipment to do something quite this intricate, including the light up, which is the electrical part of it, but something that you can put on somebody's desk and say, hi, this is what our students produce. It's a visual reminder of what you do. And if I was going to really be a brat, I would attach the program to it.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if it's a CNC program.
Can you tip it up a little bit?
I can. Let me hold on because this does come out because I have to replace the batteries every so often.
Oh, this is complicated. Look at how
this is a 5-axis product.
Yeah, this is no joke.
This is no joke. This is high stakes. This is from the Haas Technical Education Center meeting, and we're a fairly competitive bunch. But this is the one I have on my home office desk, and I thought I would just bring it out because this is a visual reminder to what you really do. And now you can take the pen out and you see this is the waveform, and this is the program, the algebra that generates that waveform, Mr. Superintendent or Dr. Superintendent, as the case may be. And this is why my students are doing so much better than the theoretical students, because they understand how to apply that geometry to produce something.
Yeah. If
any of you find people have a student who can program and produce this, I have at least 8 people who will hire that child right now, this minute.
Yeah.
I'm happy if they put the sandpaper back.
That's a lab process, Tim. And if you want to talk about lab rules, that's a separate conversation. Please feel free to reach out. I've worked with a lot of people on lab process and practice because tools break. There's what we cheerfully refer to as shrinkage, tool crib issues. Yes, I understand. But my partners in Canada, my dear partners in Canada, Nate, they have this down to a science.
Wow.
Danville Community College in Danville, Virginia, has a full pipeline from elementary school through postgraduate. And Troy Simpson and his team have this down to a science. If anybody
Wow.
needs help, there is help there.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I would definitely need help with my process. Yeah, the room's kind of messy, but it's only because we do so many different projects. But it's true. Process of, putting things back, and then the lean manufacturing. Every tool has a place, and you could even
Absolutely.
do the Kaizen drawers so that everything's labeled and it goes back. It's true.
I come out of a chemistry background, and if you're not neat, you're dead. And quite honestly, when I walked into Sandvik, it was pretty much the same mental process. It has a place, that's where it goes. Because then everybody knows where it is and it's safe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's safety is our first product. If it's not safe, at Sandvik, if anyone sees an unsafe condition, you yell stop and it stops. Because we are very skilled at Sandvik. I'm 40 years. I was not the most senior person at Sandvik.
Oh, wow.
Most of us people who are senior to me also retired this year. But we are there for a long time. You don't want to see anybody get hurt at any time, even if it's a paper cut.
Right.
Slipping in the hallway. My good friends at Disney, safety is number one. If they see something, they fix it or they get somebody else to fix it. You have to be safe. So you have to be neat because messy things make messy situations.
Yeah. Interesting. Tim, what was your story? What were you going to say?
No, it was just funny when she was talking about the grunting and, just like scratching yourself in terms of, society that we live in, and which a lot of people don't understand that, the audience that we get is a totally different breed. And anybody here or anybody listening will understand that, shop teachers get a different breed. And so it was funny. I was going back to the state testing last week when we were doing the testing every day. I was a floater. So I would be on hall duty, checking to see if anybody needs a bathroom break or, there was somebody that needed help or whatever. So I pulled up a chair, I sat down in the hallway and I was just waiting, and I took out the book. I took out a book I was reading. And I think it was why people make things, the art of craftsmanship or something like that. I think it was Peter Korn, if I remember correctly. So I started reading that book. Well, one of my coworkers walks up to me, sees me in the hall and goes, "Man, you know how to do that?" And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "That thing you have in your hands." I said, "Oh, Reed? Yeah, I know how to do that. I don't do it well, though, but I know how to do that."
That's funny.
I will tell you that my father-in-law went to school every day with a jacket and a tie. When he went to his office, the tie got firmly pinned behind the second button of the shirt and the shop coat went on.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's not a good way to say this. Look at your colleagues and see how they dress. Dress one step better. Get a lab coat like the physics teacher, like the chemistry teacher, because you are working in a lab environment.
That's true.
So you have to conform yourself to a modality they will understand. Which is, irrespective of how smart you are, because except for maybe the physics teacher, you are all smarter than any of them. Because you are doing the math, you are doing the calculations, and you are applying that to produce a viable output. And you can demonstrate it.
Yeah,
Not all of your
we
colleagues
should have you on
can
every
say
week.
that.
Well, the funny thing is, I would love to dress better, but the problem is I just ruined so many clothes that it's hard to spend all that money on expensive clothes just to get destroyed.
No. You wear a shop coat, right?
Well, yes, but the problem is my room is anywhere between 75 and 80 degrees. So we don't have air conditioning, and it's unbearable to be in there, especially, the first couple weeks of school. I'm already on week 6, and, the heat has been just horrible. I'll go in, I'll change my shirt 4 or 5 times during the day because it's unbearable in there. And, adding another layer of clothing on top of that, it's just, that's even harder.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. It's the same for manufacturing. When you come in the morning, do you see everybody?
What do you mean? Do we
Well,
have
you
Oh,
walk.
when you coming
Most
through
people,
like a main entrance?
you coming into a main
Or do you go
entrance. You have
side?
to sign in.
Oh, it's slip in, slip out. I mean, that's the way.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I
then
don't go to the office. I've learned, you don't go to the office. You don't stay in the hallways. You don't go to the teacher's room. That's the way it is. I mean, I've been doing this 20 years. I know the gig. So you stay in
I
your room, you
understand.
can't get in any trouble.
Well, that's true, but you got to be visible.
Yeah.
And so when you're visible, you have to look the part. You are all the geek squad. You know how to make stuff happen.
Yeah.
And you have to translate that image into an image the people who are not us will understand and respect more.
It's true.
Because-
I could wear like a lab coat or something similar. And I don't. I do kind of. Yeah, I've kind of just got into a little bit of a outside the box, only because then they don't ask you to do anything outside the shop, which is great. But I do see what you're saying. I think the main idea that you're giving out is that you have to represent the shop. And the way I do that is I don't wait for them to ask me questions. I always give, like you said, give them something to put on the desk, or I share through the computer. I share success stories. You really got to be your own sort of marketing team. Otherwise, the shop class definitely gets the basement treatment,
Yeah, you have to
Exactly.
advocate. You have to advocate.
Yeah.
And I agree, and I agree with what you're saying. I mean, you dress the part, you act the part, and then everybody else conforms. And and I understand what you're saying. I mean, I get it. I had a secretary tell me, it's so hot in your room. Why don't you just come to school in shorts? And I says, that's not professional.
Right.
And she's like, well, what's the matter with that? I says, it's just not professional.
No.
I said, an in-service day, different story. I said, I can pull that apart. It's when you're in front of kids, you got to have it, look presentable for the most part.
Yeah. Also, there's a dress code in school. We're not kidding, and you have to be at the top of it, because not for anything, most people think we're all widgeons anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have advanced degrees and a whole bunch of initials after my name because I do.
Yeah.
And if I sit there and look like a schlump, people are going to think I'm a schlump.
Right.
As you have to, gentlemen, you got to play the game the way they play it.
Yeah. So I definitely should step it up. I agree. I mean, within like the shop, I think when instead of wearing like raggy clothes, I could put a shop coat on. I did stop wearing the tie, but just because it's a little bit restrictive, not my style. I
Understood.
do want to take a second to say hello to Roy. He's in the room.
Hey guys, this is what I wear. So if I'm on camera, it's very clean. If admin is going to be here, if I'm not, if I'm just working with the kids, my ratty one has holes in it, but the kids don't know the difference. I mean, it's set up exactly the same.
And
but-
you're in shorts.
Oh, you know, today is college and career day, so I'm wearing a community college shirt. I've got a bunch of them, and
No,
I
but you're
feel
in
like
shorts.
that's acceptable. Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
to be fair,
depending
you're
on
in
the class,
California.
well, yeah, it was actually very nice today. Culture's different. I don't know.
Yeah, California. Come on.
I mean,
But no, but I wanted
I
to
don't
say I
wear flip-flops,
appreciate.
but I have them under my desk.
Yeah, I appreciate you joining because I love getting the perspective from around the country. You know.
Yeah, I would say that at events, I've worn as much as a suit and tie with a jacket.
Yeah, I'm not
the
one.
first week of school, I wear slacks and a shirt, and I do have to change because you get so sweaty. It's August. It's
Yeah.
like August 5th. It's 105 outside, and I'm standing in the sun, yelling at freshmen.
Yeah. No, that's.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, no one expects their woodshop teacher to wear a tie.
Yeah. No, the times have changed. However, I do understand having some sort of a little bit of formality there. I mean, I wear work pants and like I usually wear like a work shirt with a collar, but I do like short sleeves and and my work pants are like oil stained, I mean, I can't be always changing my stuff. It's just crazy. But
the problem is everything's so expensive right now. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I don't have an unlimited budget just to buy clothes. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
other problem. And
I think the main idea is representing. Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
I would
Tim.
say when you get glue on almost everything you own, you can't have anything nice. I mean, I have work or school clothes, and then
Yeah.
I have going out just around the town clothes, and then I have work clothes, which are all my old school clothes that just have holes in them that I work around the yard in.
Yeah.
And, they just go right through that transition. And, I used to wear slacks. I used to wear, the nice khakis and matching, shoes and belt and everything, that kind of stuff. But it just got where you're just ruining so much that economically it was not I couldn't
Let me show you some of the nice stuff that Tim's does. He's got these great bowl turn. What do you call it when you mix the different woods together, Tim?
a lamination.
Aha. I think I asked you that every single time we show
You
this.
do. You ask me that every time.
I do remember. This is like, it's just unbelievable, the stuff that, they put out, even these, like how many different pieces of wood are there, and it looks like you bought it in a store, It's pretty cool. I want to get to some of the other, some of the other boards that Joanne is sitting on. Is this one of them right here? New Jersey Manufacturing.
I am part of the Northern New Jersey Advanced Manufacturing Industry Group. There are 3 of us.
Okay.
There's North, Central, and Southern. Choose New Jersey is actually New Jersey's economic development group. And yes, I steal that picture from them all the time.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And
So
actually go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, no, all right. Oh, I just want to know if I'm on the right website. I wanted to highlight some of the other boards that you sit on so we can learn about them.
If you go to the Bergen County Workforce Development Board, that's one of them.
Oh, I have that. I think I got that. Okay, I'll just type it in. Bergen County Development. Here you go. You're in Hackensack.
We are in Hackensack as a board. We actually usually meet in Paramus at Bergen Community College.
Oh, okay.
when we do meet. Lately, it's been Zoom.
All right. Is this it right here?
That is that one. That is the county site, and the job center
Oh,
has,
manufacturing.
yep. And that'll talk a little bit about our two technology high, actually there's 3 technology high schools here in Bergen County, including.
Yeah, that's true. There's right. There's Paramus campus, and then there's Teterboro, and then there's also Hackensack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Bergen Community College has an applied technology high school now on their campus.
Right. I think Mark Balzeret is the teacher there.
Yep, and Mark also does double duty at Bergen Community College in their manufacturing program.
Wow. Yeah, he's great. We had him on the show once, but we got to get him back on. Yeah, he's passionate shop teacher. He's pretty
Absolutely, yes, he does a fabulous job at Bergen.
good.
And they
Yeah.
have a lot of industrial customers from my northern part of Bergen County.
Nice. So now let's see the other. Am I missing any boards that you're on that we want to talk about?
I don't know if we want to talk about the New Jersey Library Association, but I'm a big literacy advocate because literacy is critical in everything, but especially in manufacturing and in the sciences. And you all know that because your students have to be able to convert fractions to decimals and vice versa. They have to be able to understand instructions. Because what we deal with, if we're not careful, and you are all careful, hurt somebody.
Yeah. What's funny about the literacy is that I remember, I don't know how many years ago, this must have been 10 years ago, they had to, they had to, they wanted every teacher to integrate literacy into the classroom. And as a shop teacher, I was already doing that because what we were doing is I would have the kids take a picture of their before, write a description, and then take a picture of their after and write a description. And then that would be their report for the day. And if you add up 5 of those, that's 10 photos and 10 descriptions by the end of the week. That's 20 points. That was an easy thing to grade, which made documentation super easy, but allowed them to represent their project. So then if you take that and you put it into a blog, you could actually add that to LinkedIn, which can help them in the future. So literacy, writing down what they did, how they got there, would be a great story to tell about their process, and that might actually help them in the future with their career. So literacy is a big deal, I think, in manufacturing and in the shop classes, even though it seems like it wouldn't be, it is. Because we're the application of all the other classes, basically. So let's see. I think I have some examples I could show you. But what do you do with them? Is there anything we should highlight here?
I work a lot. One of the things that we will be working with is literacy in manufacturing. Because you are absolutely right. It is critical just for the protection of the people so that people know what they're handling. That's why every time you send something out, it goes out with an MSDS, a material safety data sheet, so people can process that information and know how to handle that material correctly. Because safety is our number one concern.
So this is an example of a blog that one of my students made. Obviously, all the students do this, but hers came out pretty good, so it's a good example. I think you spoke with Kelly before, early on, maybe a couple years back. She hasn't updated it since you graduated, but she said that it did work out pretty good. I think she actually makes a little bit of money on the advertising. I don't know if it's pennies, but it's something. Anyway. So this was the stool that she made. Well, like she took an old stool from the shop and she went through the process. So here's her writing about what she did. Like, I did this by securing it with TIG welding. However, this time I tried to do a different type of filler metal. She experimented with different filler metals, and she tried out brazing at one point, and then so here's her like taking like close up pictures and describing her failures and explaining it, and I thought that was great, so yeah, the shop classes could for sure add literacy. The kids might groan a little bit about it, they're not so happy about it at first, but later is, after the class is done, that's when they say, oh man, I'm so glad I did that, because then they have the documentation of it.
I would absolutely agree. As an employer, this is a tremendously valuable piece of information for somebody to present to me if they're looking for a position, because not only do I see that you have skills, TIG welding is quite a skill.
Mm-hmm.
I also understand that you have developed a process, you have analytical skills, you followed it all the way through to completion. This is pretty impressive.
Yeah, she was very diligent on this. And there's pieces, fixing the metal stool, part 7. So she has all the parts and pieces. Here's part 6. It's pretty detailed. And then what's great is that through this process of just repairing a stool, but like walking through each step, not every kid's going to do this, but walking through each step and owning each step. What she did was when she went to Lehigh University for engineering, she didn't have a prior appointment. She just walked into the SAE program, the Baja program. And she said, hey, I said, hey, go find the program and go see what you can do. And she went in there and she did what I call a walk-on. It's almost like, imagine you could play football really well, but you didn't get recruited. You just go to practice one day and impress the coach. So she went there and she said, okay, they said, okay, well, we'll help you out. She says, oh, I could probably help you guys with the welding. Do you guys have a welder? And they said, we don't have a welder, but we need someone who really knows how to weld or at least experience. She said, I have experience. And they said, really? And they said, can you run the TIG welder? She put the helmet on, got right to work. And they were like, okay, you're welding our chassis, like right away. So she joined the team as a welder as a freshman. She said that usually that's a senior operation. So it's like, what a head start, And then the next thing she had to do was she really needed to get into SolidWorks or CAD and then work on designing the chassis and making it lighter and stronger. So I haven't got an update from her yet, but I think she's almost graduated. So we'll see. All right, that's cool. Let's see. What else are we missing? We're going to do the advisory board. We're all going to start dressing a little better and
strategic dressing. I mean, I put it in the chat. I have a lab coat. I have a couple of lab coats for the shop when I'm working, when I'm throwing my little self into a machine practically.
Yeah.
They're black in the front. And Ron, our yellow lab coats. For those of you who don't know, Sandvik Cormont, I wear a neck to the knees, yellow, bright yellow lab coat.
Yeah.
Well, the ones I wear to work are black in the front. But I do have several that I wear for presentations, going upstairs for coffee, stuff like that. So I have one to beat up. I have coolant holes. I have chip burns in my lab coat. I work it to death. Ours are fire retardant because chips are hot.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard. And most of us, honestly, we wear short sleeves. We don't wear long sleeves even in the winter. And I agree with Roy. I got a shop coat for work and a shop coat for show.
It's funny because I remember when I visited here, it's literally yellow lab coats and it stands out.
Yes.
But it's an amazing facility. They've got these machines that will cut like a 50,000th off of something. And it's like, bah! And these chips come off. These chips would be, so hot, and it's unbelievable what they can take off with these tools. Very powerful CNC machines the size of a car, it's unbelievable.
And those are small ones.
Yeah.
Our production units have larger ones.
Jeez. Wow.
Well, keep in mind that the centers, the Sandvik Cormont centers, and there's 17 of them around the world. Here in the U.S., there are 2 at the moment, plus 4, 5 manufacturing sites, which are not full centers. But they're designed to help people get the best out of their tooling investment. So we'll do process rationalization, all kinds of stuff. And most of them have equipment from your basic 3-axis. For example, we have a VF6. We have 2 VF6s actually at 2 different locations. We have Okuma machines. We have Mazak Variaxes. We have a couple of lovely Doosan machines. We have a Makino. So there's a wide variety of equipment. And in an educational environment, this is not really going to happen unless you are a major university. A $750,000 machine, 5-axis machine tool is just not going to pop in the budget. We know that. We know that, which is why we do Manufacturing Day. And that's why you need an advisory board who has this kind of equipment, who can talk to your administration and your board and say, they need this investment because I need these skills. And as an education institution, your job is to provide the community with people who have these skills. And it's really hard to make that argument if it's just you.
Yeah, it just sounds like my opinion, but it's just an opinion based on all my experience. But yeah, if you have, right, and I'm not even looking at the local manufacturers. I don't know. They might need me to do something else that I was thinking. I mean, I'm focused on cars, but it doesn't have to be cars. It could be anything involving engineering or manufacturing in some sort of metal. That would be very interesting to pursue, especially locally, because it's kind of fun talking with, the local business owners. I even just recently found that there's someone in the town that does high-end custom car work for photo shoots, and they're right down the block, and they might need a machinist to, cut a new part, or they might need someone who does paint. And I just don't know what they need. So, because I haven't been asking the right questions, obviously there's only so much you can do, and there's, time in the day and whatnot. So let me ask you this, and then we're going to get to Bloomquist. Is his big day over at the build science. I always wanted to know, what is, when it comes to the chip here, I'm looking at this chip. This is a what is that called with the yellow material?
That is the coating on an insert, and that is a turning insert that has a chip breaker pressed into it. Because this is actually the business of, this is what actually touches the metal. And you'll see there's 8 edges on this particular cutting tool. This is the actual thing that touches it.
Okay, so this is the carbide insert.
That is the carbide insert. If you look at the bottom of the spindle at the edge of the tool holder, that little darling thing is going to make this go really pretty right now.
Right. And now what is, there it is, making chips right there.
It is making chips and doing a good fine job on that Mazak for sure.
Now what exactly is carbide?
Carbide is a compounded metal product, usually made mostly out of tungsten and carbon, which is why it's called carbide. It's technically called tungsten carbide. It's a powdered metallurgical product where the elements are combined and sintered together. It's kind of like a really, really advanced chocolate chip cookie. Because what you have is you have your tungsten and your carbide. You will probably have a few other trace elements in there to add, in some cases, lubricity or strength, toughness, and hardness to the insert. to make it durable, depending on the metal you are cutting. You need a different constituency in your insert for cast iron, for example, than you do for waspalloy, heat-resistant superalloy. The recipe for that insert will be different. So all of these elements are mixed, and they are mixed with a binder and then sintered. They're baked at about 1200 degrees for 24 hours, and then they come out and the cookies are done. The inserts are sintered, and then we will coat them. If we go back to, you were asking me why that insert is coated gold. We have a variety of colors, most people do, but it makes it easy to see the wear on the insert. In some cases, the coating will also provide lubricity in the machining operation. And many of us prefer to machine dry. It's very popular with medical parts and aerospace parts. And if anybody wants to know why, I will be happy to take that as a separate technical discussion. But you see various pressed already into the insert. So when that insert goes into the sintering furnace, those striations and grooves are pressed in there because it makes for better chip formation. When you are machining the metal, those chips have to be freeable. They have to remove themselves from the workpiece and from the machining operation. Otherwise, they bird's nest around the spindle, they choke your machine, they ruin your workpiece, and all the time and effort you have invested in that workpiece is now scrap.
So
we hate scrap.
Even though this is small, the design of this, once you pass this edge, this is super important because this manages the chip. Is that right?
That helps the chip form. Absolutely correct. It helps bring those beautiful 6s and 9-shaped chips away from the workpiece. So it makes your machining more efficient, and you can go a whole lot faster when your machining is more efficient, which means I can make more workpieces, more products in the same amount of time. And we're making inserts every day that are more durable, so you get more pieces out of your tools.
Yeah.
Why? Because we make so much more stuff.
Yeah, look at wow, it's cutting so fast. It's unbelievable.
If you are interested in learning more about how inserts are made, we actually have a short video which is entitled How Inserts Are Made. Check out the YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah. You guys have a YouTube channel? Perfect.
Oh, absolutely. We've got about 230 videos. Some are marketing. Most of them are technical videos. If you are looking for technical videos, I encourage you to look at the Sandvik Coromant Tips series. Tips on how to machine stuff.
Oh, here we go. It's your #1 video.
Oh, well.
There we go. I don't play the sounds so that YouTube doesn't, I don't know, they got all kind of algorithms. They don't want copyright, but I think it's better just to talk over it a little.
What you see here, well, you want me to talk over it?
Yeah, what's going on
What you see here is a couple of milling operations, and your narration is telling you what an insert is made out of. 80% tungsten carbide and 20% of a metal matrix, the binder. And it takes more than 2 days to sinter this together. It's complicated.
2 days to make this?
Well, you press it one day and then you sinter it. You have to bake that little cookie.
Whoa.
To fuse it all together. And it's a complicated process because the binder will melt out, leaving you with a pure sintered insert. And our robots go to the warehouse and they will pick out what is necessary.
Oh, this is a robot.
This is a highly automated process. Yes. This is our YEMO production unit. I recognize it. The one in Westminster looks pretty much the same. This is the weigh line because all of the ingredients are added automatically except for the small fractions which are too small to be measured securely. They have to be done by humans. We're much more precise.
Okay.
And you see it's all dropping in, no hands, there's no people pouring powder into the mix,
Right.
except for the way line, which is trace elements.
Okay. So now we're in the milling room, I guess. Oh, particles. Okay. This is where they're mixing it. Oh, here comes
Correct.
the binder.
Yep, it's ethanol plus water plus an organic binder, which is in most cases proprietary, which is why you don't have any details there. So all of those powders are ground up together and mixed so that it comes out as a finely divided equal powder. All the little granules should be the same shape, and we do a quality check at this point. A sample of the mix is sent to the lab and it's quality assayed. And those are all cans of finished powder.
It's unbelievable. I just want to hit pause for a second. It's amazing that, the application of material science is so important. Even if you were making, even when they do the cooking classes, which I don't even think they do at my high school anymore. I don't even know what they're doing. Maybe they're doing it. But they really should get into the details of it, to actually get into like the baking process of materials or the cutting process or the gluing process. These are all super important. And I think that is glanced over because even in the pottery class, they deal with ceramics, but they don't tell the kids, by the way, you can use ceramics to stop heat from attacking a spaceship. So you could have the heat shield, I think, is partly ceramic or some sort of ceramic. And it's like, it's just amazing how important this stuff is, yet how it's not, I don't think it's emphasized in the education level. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm speaking just my perspective, but anyway, I just think it's amazing that you're making all these powders that then are going to be binded together.
They actually are. We also make our own powder for our 3D printing operations, our Osprey group. Why? Because we've been making powder since before it was popular.
Right.
So we're very, very good with powder. Sandvik Cormont is a fully vertical company, so we make a lot of our own materials for our own products.
Is this the actual chip being made from the powder?
From the powder. That is the insert being pressed. Each kind of insert, each grade and geometry has their own die and press.
And I know Matt is driving, so he's probably not watching. But basically, it's like we went into their. It's like we went into the like a beer making operation. They've got all the materials, they're mixing it together, and they're making it's like high-end wine operation, They're putting all the materials together, and then it comes out in this powder, and then they're going to bring it over to a press, and they press it, I'm sure, at a high level, and they've got this chip that goes on the end of your cutting machine. It's unbelievable.
Yep. So this is how your insert is pressed. We're looking at a raw insert now. This one's not sintered. And you are not joking when you say a lot of pressure. It's about 12 tons.
Here comes another one. Bow. Boom. There it is. Take it away. Boom. Here they are. Oh, look at them.
And,
they're tiny.
Well, they are, because they're the little piece that does the work. And the inserts are being stacked on a sintering tray. And that whole tray filled with inserts is going to go into the sintering oven. And the whole process is automated.
Wow. Incredible. And it's wild because this is like the business end of all the shapes, like every shape has to be cut. So it's so important. Yet robotics classes are optional. It's amazing to me. This should be, every kid coming up now, especially, look, we're going to have the space travel is about to explode. The artificial intelligence and robotics are about to expand. And this should be really required for every kid to learn, not just, their general classes. That's what I think. I don't know.
Well, that's how inserts are made, and that's available on our YouTube channel. If anybody needs a little something for turning, milling, drilling, boring, NX programming, there's at least one video there, and they're all available on YouTube. They're available on our website site.
Yeah.
So, and they're going into the sintering oven. So
Oh yeah, here we go.
those wonderful little cookies are going into bake.
Okay.
And it's a hot
1500
oven.
degrees.
That's 1500 C.
Wow.
Don't try this at home.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It is.
Almost as hard as diamond.
Yes, and we do actually make inserts that have diamond tips
Oh, they shrink.
because the binder has melted out.
Okay. Interesting. Excess heat. Oh, they use it to heat the facility in the winter. That's cool. Oh, as it cools as well.
Yes.
Okay. Grinding. Okay. And then this is the final touches, I guess.
Grinding, not all inserts will always be ground. It depends. Sometimes they are pressed with the needed chip breakers.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And then, oh, coated. Here comes the coating. Oh, Roy's going to take off. See you later, Roy. Thanks for visiting. Okay.
So, but while we're looking, does anybody else have any questions for me, Ron? I know you all, it's getting late. I have to go too.
Oh, yeah, no problem. We're going to, yeah, I just wanted to talk about the chips because it was so important. It's such an important piece, you know. But yeah, if you guys got questions, if not, you know, we could wrap it up. But I do want to cover Matt's trip to his build science. But yeah, go ahead, guys. You got anything?
And they don't have to be technical questions. One of the things I do is I work with manufacturers and educators to bring people together. So feel free to ask me anything along those lines. If you need help filling your pipeline, I may have a few tips.
How a train wheel is made. This
Oh,
is pretty cool.
I like that video.
Yeah, this is cool. There's a lot of good stuff on here.
Oh, we like to think so, but I bet most of your students don't realize that train wheels go flat.
Oh, yeah.
Because when they heat up, what happens when metal heats up? You all know what happens. It gets soft.
Oh,
When
yeah.
that train pulls into the station and it stops to let people on and off, what happens to that hot train wheel? It gets a little flat.
Oh, I see.
So they have to go back to the wheelhouse and get rounded up.
Oh, no kidding. That's interesting.
This is how it's made. This is before they get into practice and get flat. But you
Yeah.
also have to remachine train wheels. And I would guarantee you nobody thinks of that.
No, I didn't think of that. I didn't realize you had to take them back off and recut them.
They have to be machined because they go out of true because of plastic deformation from the heat that builds up when the train wheels are on the rail.
Oh, yeah. And do they, what do they do about the size once they cut it down? Is that okay? Because I guess suspension will take care of the different in diameter.
There does, like most things that you are taking pieces out, including regrinding drills, you may have a different size train wheel that needs to go in a different place on the train.
Sure.
But they are ground to certain tolerances.
Gotcha. And, you know, even I remember there was such a good video put out a number of years ago about saving the people in the mine. They had that video about doing, you know, using the boring machine, and they had to come up with a way to cool the chips while boring the parts they were making very quickly to save these people's lives. So, you know, manufacturing can save people's lives on the fly very quickly, not just some product that they've been working on for years, you know. So having manufacturers around and having the people with the knowledge is really vital for our society.
Well, that was, if
Oh,
you're
there
talking,
you go. There's truing it up again.
Yep.
Wow.
If you're talking about the Chilean mine disaster,
Yeah.
Ron,
Yeah.
those were our wonderful friends at Center Rock in Pennsylvania who had that solution. And
Right.
they made that drill. There were 3 solutions being tried on that particular terribly, terribly dangerous situation, an A, B, and C solution. And Center Rock had the solution that could work the fastest. And Sandvik and Sandvik Cormont are very familiar with all 3 of those solutions.
What was the name of their company again?
Center Rock, they are in Pennsylvania.
Oh.
And they made the pneumatic drill that pulverized the rock between the miners trapped in the mine and the outer world to get the safety capsule down the tunnel that they made. They did a fabulous job. And their drill that saved the lives of those 33 miners was made with one of Sandvik Cormont's 880 drills.
Oh, wow.
So we are very familiar with their excellent work, and we're very proud to have a part of it.
Yeah, this was a very interesting story about how they turned this around so quickly. And it was a competition to come up with a solution.
That is correct.
Yeah, that was a really cool thing.
It was a very, very challenging experience for all parties. I know some of the people on the Center Rock team literally did not sleep for 36 hours.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, they had to come up with this amazing solution. It's unbelievable.
Nobody was leaving until it was proved out and those people were out of the mine. None of us.
Wow. Wow. Amazing.
It was a wonderful, wonderful result.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I guess we'll probably end it there. That's pretty good.
Thank you all.
Yeah, Joanne, thanks so much for doing this. And
It was my pleasure.
Yep.
Ron, you always know how to reach me. I
Yep.
am also available on LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out if I can be of help personally or through any of my organizations, or any of the organizations I have the honor to work with. Please let me know. You can find me on LinkedIn as Joanne Mitchell. Have a great evening, everybody. Be safe.
Okay, thanks a lot. All
My
right.
pleasure. Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye. All right, that was cool. I think what we'll do to make it like kind of the bookend the episode, I think I'll end it here, the recording, but I'll pick up another one for highlighting Matt's program that he went to, the conference. All right, so I'm going to end it there. Shop Class Podcast. That was awesome. Joanne Mitchell, manufacturing expert. She knows a lot more than she let on. I think if you do 40 years at Sandvik, you probably know what's going on. So I'm going to end the recording there. Thanks a lot.